Okay, have we got everyone? I think we've got nearly everyone. Actually, I think we're missing 2 people. Who are we missing? I think we're missing Eleanor and we're missing... No, maybe it's just Eleanor that we're missing. Okay, hopefully she'll connect soon. Okay, so did everyone see the link for the article that we'll be reading today? Today might be a little bit complicated because it's talking about some economic terms and some economic situations which might be a little bit strange. Okay, so I imagine we're going to have to talk a little bit to work out what these economic terms about pricing actually mean. Okay. But hopefully it'll be okay, and hopefully it will be interesting. It's about how pricing is changing in supermarkets. Eleanor, I think your microphone might be turned on. Could you just turn it off, please, when you're not talking? Otherwise, we get a little bit of background noise from everybody. Thank you.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so let's get started. Artem, would you like to read first today?
Yes, thank you. Surge pricing comes to the supermarkets. On one, retailers are increasingly using your personal data to decide how much to charge you, and high street shops are about to get in on the act. In the 1861, a shopkeeper in Philadelphia revolutionized the retail industry. John Wanamaker, who opened his department store in Quaker district of the city, introduced price tags for his goods, along with the high-minded slogan, "If everyone was equal before God, then everyone would be equal before price." The practice got on up until then. High street retailers had generally operated a market style system of haggling on most products. Their best prices might be reserved for their best customers, or they would weigh up each shopper and make a guess at what they could afford to pay and eventually come to an agreement. Wanamaker's idea was
thank
not...
you. I'll just get you to stop there, thank you. Okay, sorry, I missed the end of the paragraph. Let's have a look at this paragraph here. Are there any questions or comments about it so far?
Haggling, for me it was a new one. It's when you wanted to make a price a little bit lower, right? Like a bargaining with a salesman.
Yeah, exactly. Haggling is like bargaining, trying to reduce the price or get a better price between the salesperson and the person who's buying. Okay, what about surge? This word we're going to see a lot in this article because they talk a lot about surge pricing. But the word surge just by itself, it is kind of a movement, but it's a movement in a specific direction. Does anyone know where or what kind of direction a surge might be moving in? Artem?
Yes, I have economic education and I understand clearly what does it mean. Just a sudden increase in something which previously has been steady, right?
Exactly, yes. When you talk about a surge, they're talking about something moving up, really. Usually up an upward movement, but obviously it does fall down usually afterwards as well, kind of like a wave does. You can think about it as that kind of movement. Luca, I think you're right. They're going to start pricing food like fuel. I think you've already caught on to the idea of the article. Actually, that was one of the phrases here as well, caught on. What does it mean by caught on? Artem?
So this one, John Wanamaker created this phrase, and other competitors just started to use the same phrase, right?
Yeah, caught on is when something starts to be done, like it becomes popular to do something or fashionable to do something. So you can talk about trends, for example, catching on when everybody starts doing them. So it's the same kind of idea here. It became popular to do this and everybody started to do the same thing.
Oh, I forgot to ask. Market stall. I have never met this collocation. Market stall system. Very strange for me.
Okay, can anyone explain that phrase? What does it mean by market stall system? Any ideas? Okay, it's kind of think about the difference about when you go to a market and when you go to an actual store to buy something. When you go to a market, sometimes they don't have the price written on everything when you go to the market. So if you're interested in buying something, you have to ask the person, how much is this? If I buy 5 of them, will I get a cheaper price? You kind of have to talk to them really about what the price is going to be and how much they're going to charge you for it. In a store, of course, you go in there and usually it has a price on everything. So you know what the price is straight away because it's written on the product or it's written on the shelf near the product. So what they're talking about here is that in the past, even stores had this same kind of market stall system. Exactly. This is talking about in the past. Where you would have to go in and ask them basically, how much is rice today? Or how much is bread today? Or how much is milk today? And they would decide what price they were going to give you based on a lot of different things. But it wouldn't be the same price for everyone necessarily. They would just tell you the price to every person individually. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you a lot.
Okay, what about this phrase here, high-minded, and a high-minded slogan? What do you think they mean by high-minded? Adam, let's see if somebody else knows first, and then I'll give you the mic, okay? Yeah, it's kind of to do with kind of intelligence, but not quite intelligence. It's related to that, though. A slogan would be something that you would remember. It's like the what the brand uses for people to remember. High-minded is actually talking about your moral principles. So if you say someone is very high-minded, it means that they're very principled, they're very ethical, very righteous, they have very strong morals about different things. So they're saying here that this slogan that they had, that everyone is equal, basically, is a very, very strong moral statement as well. It's not just any kind of slogan to try to sell something. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Are there any other questions or comments in this section before we keep going? April?
And what about now in the market? Do you have, or in almost in every country maybe, that it is stuck the prices then, even in the market then, not just only in the shop, but also in the market? Here, yes. So we know what you have to pay actually, except that some market stall, they don't have a cashier, they don't have the till. So when you ask for 2 apples, for example, and they weigh it, and they said 50 cents, for example, you have to remember that, or that person, the shopkeeper, remember that a lot. I don't understand that. If I buy a lot of things, apple, banana, carrots, for example, and at the end, only 2 seconds, and he knows how much I have to pay. And sometimes I don't believe him because mostly I have to pay more, I think, but I'm not sure about that. You don't have any proof, actually. So, how about in the other countries? Do you have also that tax of prices in the market?
Good question. I think a lot of markets now have fixed prices, or they have displayed prices, but maybe more with, for example, fruit and vegetable markets. Sometimes it's not as clear. I don't know. Okay, let's keep reading. Luca, would you like to read?
Yes. Wanamaker's idea was not all about transparency, however. Fixed pricing changed the relationship between customer and store in fundamental ways. It created the possibilities of price wars, loss leaders, promotional price, and sales. For the first time, people were invited to enter stores without the implied obligation to buy anything. Until then, shops had been more like restaurants. You went in on the understanding that you would leave without making a purchase. Now customers could come in and look and wonder and perhaps be seduced. Shopping had been invented.
Thank you. Okay, let's have a look at this paragraph here. Questions, comments? Okay, transparency. What do they mean here by transparency? Exactly. They're talking about something being clear, about having honest prices, being very, very clear about the prices that are being charged, so that everybody can see that they're being charged the same price. Any other questions in this section? No, this part's okay. Okay, let's keep reading then. April, would you like to read? Oh, hang on. We've got one more question. Loss leaders. Okay. price wars, loss leaders, promotional prices and sales. What do they mean here by loss leaders? Has anyone heard this term before? Go ahead, Artem.
I think it's just one of the company who took the competition, and this one has lost the most, right?
It's something else, actually. It's talking more about a product. It's like a pricing strategy, really. It's what it usually is when they sell a product at a loss. So they sell a product for less than it's actually worth or less than it cost them to make. And the idea of this is that they use this, they sell it at a loss so that they can attract customers. So they think, okay, we'll sell this one cheaper, or we might lose money on it, but people will come to our store and they will buy other things. So we'll still make money that way. Okay, what about this word used? What does it mean in the context of this article? Yeah, exactly. Make you want to buy something. Seduced is something when you're like attracted, encouraged to do something. So in this case, it's kind of attracting you to buy things or making you want to buy things. Any other questions in this section before we keep reading? Okay. April, would you like to read?
Gladly, thank you. For the last 150 years or so, Wanamaker's fixed price principle has been a norm on the high street. Shoppers might expect the price of bread or fish or vegetables to go down at the end of the day or when they neared a sell-by date, but they would not expect prices to fluctuate very often on durable goods, and they would never expect the person behind them in the queue to be offered a different price to the one they were paying. That idea is no longer secure. Technology, for better and worse, through the appliance of big data and machine intelligence, can now transport us back to the shopping days of before 1861. Okay, that is the year that the department store started then.
Yes, exactly. Okay, let's have a look at this paragraph. Questions, comments? A sell-by date. What do they mean by a sell-by date? Yeah, it's kind of like the expiry date, the last day that you can sell something. So we'd probably talk more about it as a expiry date or a use-by date sometimes. We don't use the term a sell-by date so often now, but probably the sell-by date would actually be maybe at least a day or two before the expiry date, because obviously you want to sell it before it actually goes bad. You don't want to be selling it on the same day that it goes bad, for example, on its expiry date. But yeah, it's that same kind of idea, the day when it's going to be old and you can't actually eat it anymore. Any other questions in this section? April?
What about durable goods? Do they mean like pots or pans or also rice maybe, because it is also dry, yeah? So you can keep it for a long time. Not fresh food maybe, durable goods.
Yeah, or I think durable goods are probably something that's never going to go bad. So things like soap or laundry detergent or pots and pans and cutlery, something like that. So I think durable products are those kinds of things. They're things that aren't, you can keep selling them forever. They could sit there for 10 years and they would still be probably okay to sell. Probably, yes. They might still not be in such good condition after 10 years in the warehouse, but technically they should still be okay. Any other questions here before we keep reading? Okay, Shiny, would you like to read?
Yes, the notion of dynamic pricing has long been familiar to anyone booking a train ticket, a hotel room, or holiday. Expedia might offer thousands of price changes for an overnight stay in a particular location in a single day. We are used to prices fluctuating hour by hour, apparently according to availability. Uber, meanwhile, has introduced and been criticized for surge pricing, making rapid adjustments to the fares on its platform in response to changes in demand. During the recent tube strikes in London, prices for cab journeys automatically leaped 400%. The company argued that by raising fares, it was able to encourage more taxi drivers to take to the streets during busy times, helping the customer.
Thank you. Okay, let's have a look at this paragraph. Questions, comments? Artem?
Previously, I met the word Uber, which is, I think, is just how English people call the cars of taxi drivers. It's also spread in USA, or it's just only local in
Okay. Uber isn't actually what we call taxi drivers. Uber and taxis are different. Can anyone explain what Uber is? I know we've had a few conversations about them before. Uber is actually a company that's separate from the taxis. Fabricio?
Yes, I can try. Uber is a kind of the taxi, but the idea is executive transport that they have some norm or some rules. You the Ubers has to be the car needs to be black and a better car than the normal taxi, and the driver had to dress suit, black suit. Is a because this they charge a little the price a little bit different of the normal taxis. Yes, I think is the most difference between the Uber taxi, the Uber and the common taxis. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that there are some things, like it has to be their personal car, so it's not a business car, it's usually people's personal cars that they're using. And I think Uber has two levels as well. They have this level which is more of an executive taxi, like Fabricio was explaining, and I think they have one that's a bit more relaxed as well, where I don't think they have like a uniform for the drivers or something like that, but everything is done through an application on your phone. So, and usually they have much cheaper prices than taxis. So a lot of people have been using them. And yes, they use this surge pricing. So the idea is when there's a lot of people who are requesting transport, they increase the price that it's going to cost you because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of demand at that time. So when there's a high demand, they raise their prices. When the demand isn't so high, they lower the prices. That's what they mean with surge pricing. The price depends on how popular something is at the time. Yeah, they don't do this surge pricing in all countries. They started in most countries by not having this surge pricing, and then as people get used to it, they started to apply this surge pricing. So yeah, it means the price is a little bit flexible. So if you're trying to catch one in a really busy time of day when a lot of other people are, it'll probably cost you a little bit more than normal. Okay, any other questions in this part? Okay, let's keep reading then. Eleanor, would you like to read? Is that the right pronunciation of your name?
Yes, it's right. Pronunciation.
Oh, excellent. Would you like to read?
Yes, I would like to read, but my laptop. Yes, it's okay now because the text disappeared. Yes,
Oh no.
yes, it's okay. Okay.
Okay, great.
What we are less aware of is the way that both principles have also invaded all aspects of online retailing, and that pricing policies are not only dependent on availability of stock, but also increasingly on the data that has been stored and kept about your shopping history. If you are an impulse buyer or a full price shopper or a bargain hunter, online retailers and increasingly likely to see you coming. Not only that, there is evidence to suggest that calculation about what you will be prepared to pay for a given product are made from knowledge of your postcode, who your friends are, what your credit rating looks like, and any of thousands of other data points you have left behind as cookie crumbs in your browsing history.
Thank you, and welcome to the group.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let's have a look at this paragraph. Questions, comments? Crumbs and cookie crumbs. What do they mean here by crumbs, and Does anybody know where this idea came from, what they're referring to when they talk about leaving cookie crumbs? Yes, exactly. Crumbs are like those little bits and pieces that you leave behind that kind of break off when you're eating like cookies or bread or cake or something like this. What they're talking about though, I don't know if you know the story of Hansel and Gretel. They have a different name in different countries, I found. But does anybody know the story of Hansel and Gretel who go walking into the woods and they get captured by a witch in a candy house? Yes, and she wants to eat them. Is it sounding familiar? Yes, I think April and Marco know it. Yes. Okay. So this idea of leaving crumbs behind you comes from this story. The idea that you can use these crumbs to find your way home or to get directions to where you are. Okay, so what they mean about leaving cookie crumbs behind, it means that someone can follow you, someone can go in the same path that you went. So that's what they're talking about here when they mention that leaving like the crumbs behind you. It's kind of like leaving a trail about where you've been. Yeah, in real life the birds eat the crumbs, so it's not very helpful. It didn't work out very well for Hansel and Gretel. But I don't think we really have the same kind of birds online as we do in kind of fairy tales. Shiny, you find a lot of fairy tales if you actually look at the story. They've got a lot of horrible stories in fairy tales. They're pretty scary stories, really. Both of them are scary, actually. Any other questions in this part? Okay, let's keep reading then. Mena, would you like to read?
Yes. Okay. From Facebook?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Facebook has about 100 data points on each of its 2 billion users, generally including the value of your home, your regular outgoings, and this possible income, the kind of information that buzzer owners the world over might have once tried to intuit. Some brokerage firms offering data to retailers can provide more than 1,500 such points on an individual. Even your technology can brand you as a soft touch. The travel site Orbitz made headlines when it was revealed to have calculated yeah, that Apple Mac users were prepared to pay 20 to 30% more for hotel rooms than users of other brands of computer and to have adjusted its pricing accordingly.
Thank you. Let's take a look at this paragraph. Questions? Comments? Luca?
What they mean with the kind of information that bazaar owners the world over might once try to intuit?
Okay, good question. I think we've got a few different words here. So maybe we should talk about what they mean first, and then we can put it all together. So what's a bazaar first, or a bazaar owner? Yeah, exactly. They're like shops. Actually, they're more like markets probably than a shopping mall. And in English, I don't know if it's the same meaning there, but we actually use it most of the time to refer to a market from the Middle East, like in the countries in the Middle East, when we use this word in English, because I think it actually comes from maybe a Persian or a Turkish word or something like that means market. We also use it sometimes when, we're talking about second-hand markets as well, like when people are selling things to raise money for something, or they're having a kind of a garage sale or a yard sale for something. But it usually has lots of different things in it. So it's not just food, or it's not just clothing, or it's not just furniture or decorations. It usually has a little bit of everything in it. Okay, so that's one thing we've got. We know that we're talking about shop owners of this kind of market stall. What about this word intuit? What does this mean? Yeah, exactly. It's talking about using your intuition or your instinct to understand something. So if we have a look at this phrase again, what they mean by this phrase is that people who owned market stalls all over the world, that in the past they tried to guess all this information that now is available really easily online, or we give people really easily online. So now the owners of stalls or the owners of markets, they don't need to guess this kind of information anymore, because if people are buying things online, then all that information is really easily available. Does that make sense? Whew, great. Excellent. Are there any other questions in this part? April?
What about the word soft touch? Does it mean an easy victim, maybe? Even with
Yes.
technology? Yeah? Okay, thank you.
That's exactly what it means. That it's very easy, basically, for someone to sell you something, or to convince you of something. Any other questions here? Okay, let's keep reading. I think we lost Sarah. So, Fabrizio, would you like to read?
Yes, sure. The algorithms employed by Amazon with its ever-growing user database and second-by-second sensitivity to demand are ever more attuned to our habits and wishes. Websites such as camel.com allow to you monitor the way that Best Buy prices on the site fluctuate
Fluctuate.
markedly hour by hour. I watched that the price of a new vacuum cleaner. I had my eyes on the excitement waver like the graph of the Doge penny stock last week. What is so far less certain is whether those price changes are ever being made just for you. Amazon insisted its price changes are never attempted to get data on customers' spending habits, but whether to give shoppers to lowest price available.
Fabrizio, would you like to read the next part as well? It's very short.
Sure. Until quite recently, this facility to both monitor the market and give customers best price offer has looked like another advantage of the digital retailers over its bricks and mortar counterpart. Recently, there have been efforts to address that inequality and replicate the possibilities of dynamic price on the high street.
Thank you. Okay, let's take a look at this section here. Questions, comments? Second by second sensitivity. What do you think they mean when they talk about the second by second sensitivity? Any ideas? Luca?
Maybe because they mean with second by second that there is an updating basically second by second, so the information are updated second by second.
Yes, exactly. It means that they're receiving so much information all the time that things change every second basically, and that the algorithms that they use are very, very sensitive to these changes. So every time something changes, they will change as well. Fabrizio, did you want to add something else to that?
No, Luca answered the question is exactly the same what I would like to say. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, what about an algorithm then? What is an algorithm? Yeah, it's like a formula for something. So you can think of it as kind of like rules, basically. And an algorithm is like a set of rules, basically, to say that how something should be done. So, for example, if this number is bigger than this, then this needs to be changed. If this plus this equals this, then this needs to change to a different color. You can kind of think in it in a way, kind of like those formulas that you have in Excel. That's like a basic kind of type of algorithm. But the ones that they used for computers and for websites like this are usually much more complicated. They take a lot more things into consideration. Okay, what about attuned? What do they mean by attuned? Artem?
If you, Marcon, are attuned to something, then you can easily to understand it, right?
Yeah,
Right? No?
it kind of means that you're more aware of something or receptive to something. So it's talking about matching and being closer to what we want, basically, and what we do. So you can kind of think about it like advertising you get online now. A lot of times it's linked to things that you've already looked at online. So the advertising that they showed you is more attuned. It's like closely linked to things that you're actually interested in buying. What about this word G? This is a very popular word in Australian English, I think. I don't think it's quite as popular in the rest of the world. But does anyone know what dodgy means? It might be popular in England as well, actually. Artem?
I think it's someone who is just dishonest, and you can't rely on that kind of person. And maybe a little bit you can be a little suspicious about that kind of person.
Yeah, exactly. You can use it to talk about things as well. So things that are like unreliable or don't work so well, we would say they're dodgy as well. So for example, if you said, oh, I have such a dodgy car, it means that your car is really unreliable, that it has lots of problems and you can't really rely on it to work every time you want to use it. They mentioned as well about this penny stock. Has anyone heard this phrase before or heard about penny stock? Luca?
Penny maybe are like the discounts shop, I think. So they keep a really big stock of goods of a lot of things. Don't know if it's only food or also, for example, electronic devices. But they have a lot of customer, a lot of business during the week. So they have a frequent how can I say, a frequent stock, losing, I don't know.
I think turnover is the word you want. They always have a lot of different stock coming through.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Almost. That would probably be what we call a penny store, where there's a lot of very cheap products that a lot of people are interested in. A penny stock is actually talking about the stock market and talking about stocks that are on the like the market exchanges and the stock markets, but they're very, very low. They have a very low price, and so they're not usually listed on the main exchanges. They're usually listed on smaller exchanges that you have in certain countries. And because they're very small, it means that they have big changes every single day, but they're still not worth very much overall, because of their such small size. This is an interesting phrase as well. Bricks and mortar. What do they mean if something is bricks and mortar? Yeah, it means it's solid, but it means it's real, that it's a physical shop. So nowadays we talk a lot about like a digital retailer or a bricks and mortar retailer. So if it's digital, it means it's completely online. They don't have a physical store that you can go to. If it's bricks and mortar, it means that it has a physical location that you can go to visit. Okay, let's keep reading. Roro, would you like to read?
Yes, okay. From ever since,
Yes, that's it.
right? Okay. Ever since data has been collected on customer purchases, it has been possible to place shoppers into what analysts call different consumer pockets. And plus, shoppers who were likely to buy sweets at the checkout counter. Fitbit observes willing to buy
Obsessives?
obsessives willing to buy over the odds for organic kale. In her cheerily titled book, Weapons of Mass Destruction, how big data increase in quality and threatens democracy. Cassie on Nile notes how by O'Neill notes how by 2013, as part of research project by the Consult Center, right?
Yes,
Counter.
Accenture.
Okay. Using data from a major related retailer. It was possible to estimate how much it would cost to turn each shopper from one brand of ketchup or coffee to another more profitable brand. The supermarket could then pick out, say, the 15% most likely to switch and provide them with compounds. Smart targeting was essential, as they didn't want to give compounds to a shopper but happy to pay full price.
Thank you. Let's take a look at this paragraph here. Questions, comments? Kale. What's kale? Yeah, it's a kind of vegetable. It's like a leafy vegetable. It's very dark green, kind of like cabbage, I guess, in maybe the shape of the leaves, although it doesn't usually grow in like a ball like cabbage does. But it's a green leafy vegetable that's supposed to be very high in iron and other kind of vitamins like that. Yes, exactly. Pick out here. They mean choose, exactly. Yeah, when they say pay over the odds, what they mean is pay probably more than other people would, or pay higher than it's worth, really.
But what is odd then here?
Odds here actually comes from, I think it comes from gambling, actually. Because when you talk about the odds of someone winning or losing a race, for example, the odds are basically the likelihood that whether the horse is going to win the race. So if you pay over the odds, it's kind of paying more than what they're asking you to pay for it, or more than something is really worth. This is an idiom that I don't know, it makes sense if you kind of break it up into its separate parts so much.
Like statistic. I don't know if it's quota is not English word.
Yeah, the odds kind of comes from statistics, like the chances of something happening. So basically what they mean here is that some people are willing to pay more than something is worth to buy something because they really want to have that thing.
Like, what are the odds that this horse will win the race? Is it like?
Yeah, exactly. It's that same kind of meaning of odds. Any other questions in this part? What's a Fitbit? Does anyone have one? No? A Fitbit is actually, it's like a fitness tracker. So it looks like a watch that you wear on your wrist, and it tracks things like how far you've walked, how much exercise you've done, your heartbeat or your heart rate, things like this. So it's something that people use to help with their fitness, basically, to track their fitness levels. Okay, any other questions in this part? Yes, Marco, I think they're trying to make the point here that people who are very obsessed with fitness trackers and things like this are probably more likely to pay high prices for things like kale, which is seen as being very healthy, very good for you. Let's read a little bit more. Aladdin, would you like to read? Okay, no problem. Marco, would you like to read?
Okay. First paragraph, okay, below the picture.
Yes, the obstacle.
Okay. The obstacle to creating such smart pricing strategies in store has been the stubbornness of the paper price tag. A price change in most British retailers still involves a laconic employee manually updating them. In that, the UK currently lags quite far behind its neighbours in Europe, a fact noted last year by Nick Pauls, then Minister for Skills, who praised French retailers for having systems that could change prices 90,000 times a day, while we still had minimum wage employees traipsing along the aisles. Electronic price tags, which allow those 90,000 dynamic price changes, are a fact of life in most larger stores not only in France but also in Germany and Scandinavia.
Thank you. Okay, any questions about this section here? Traipsing. I thought there would be a question about this. Has anyone heard this word before? Can you explain it, April?
I think traipsing is like if you walk, but you are very tired, so you walked very not really steady and very slow, something like that.
Yes, exactly. You can also use it just to talk about walking around casually or kind of walking around with no real purpose. But exactly, it's that idea of walking around and being really, really tired or really reluctantly kind of walking around. What about stubbornness? What is stubbornness? Yes, exactly. Something that's not flexible, a bit like a donkey. A donkey is kind of stubborn. It kind of means that it does what it wants and you can't really change it, or you can't really make it do anything else that you want. You can't make it do something that it doesn't want to do.
And
Any
it
other
is,
questions?
oh, sorry.
Sorry, Marco.
Hi, sorry. And it is usually wrong, like for
Yes,
stubborn.
it is. This is the problem with paper price tags. They can update the systems to update the price, but it doesn't mean that they've updated that little paper tag that's on the product. It makes things very confusing for the poor buyers. Okay, well, we might stop here for today. I think everybody got a chance to read. I know that there's still a little bit to go in the article, but I think from what we've read so far about pricing, I think there's still a lot of things that we can talk about here on Thursday. If you're interested, I would suggest that you look kind of at the end of the article, where there's another section with a lot of photos where they talk about store wars and the future of shopping. And they kind of look at some different ways here that we might shop in the future, like some different technological ways or some different technologies really that we might be using to shop instead of the traditional stores that we're used to now. So if you've got some time, maybe just take a look at those that last section there about these different kinds of stores, because I think that might be interesting for us to talk about in the next session as well. But thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the topic today. One thing as well, so that you can be prepared for next week. Next week, I'm going to do a trial in having the session in Discord instead of Skype. Okay, so next week, this week, the AM/PM session on Thursday will still be here on Skype. But next week, I'm going to try to do both sessions in the week in Discord, okay, to try it out and to see how it works. So if you haven't signed up for an account with Discord yet, or if you haven't connected there, I'm telling you today so that you've got a little bit of a chance to download it and to check it out a little bit. And there's also some other sessions this week and next week as well that will be on Discord before the AM/PM session. Exactly. We're just going to try it for next week, okay? I'm not saying it'll happen every week, but let's try it next week and see what happens. Not on Monday. It will just be the AM/PM session for next week, okay? But I'll put a reminder in the forum as well, and I'll probably still be connected to Skype anyway next week, at least at the start of the session, just to make sure that we haven't got anyone who's lost or doesn't know what's happening. But just to give you a heads up, have a look on the forum, because all the instructions are there about how to sign up for an account and how to find everything. And the TGIF session on Friday is there, and I think there's also a session on Monday. So there's a few chances as well to maybe go there and ask some questions about how it works and figure it all out before we have the AM/PM session, okay? But I'm telling everybody today so that everybody can be prepared for next week. But thank you all very much, and hopefully talk to you all again later in the week. Don't forget to hit the red button to hang up, okay? Bye, everyone.